we're live, pal. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you, wherever you are in this great big world. Welcome to Live from the Static Planet, of course, Windsor, Ontario, Border City 2, across the river, Detroit, Michigan. Now you know kind of sort of where we're at, but I'll stick to the Static Planet because I love that. And of course, my name is Michael John of Michael John Paranormal Ghost Stories. My co-ghost host, the man next to me, the man of the hour, the man of the power, too sweet to be sour. Dale, high spirits, quickly together. We are the voice of the paranormal, the voice for the paranormal. Windsor, Ontario's own. Windsor proud, the paranormal voice. Now, Dale, I had a dream. I just woke up not too long ago. I had a couple shots of my apple cider vinegar. I drank some black tea. Figured I'd do a little bit of something different. Had my cold shower. Here we go. But I had this dream. It was crazy. In the dream, I was dreaming about a muffler. I'd swallowed a muffler. Oh, my God, I'm exhausted. Never mind. All right. Boom, boom. Carry on, folks. Hello, Mary. Hello, Facebook users. I can't say your name. Please say who you are, what your name is, where you're from, so we can see. We can't always see who's saying hello to us. Mary Bassett, of course, from the Voice of Contact. Very good friend of ours, Mama Mary. Love you, girl. Mwah. Thank you. Oh, my God. We got so much going on. We got a hell of a show. I'm excited for today's guest. We were talking to her backstage, getting to know her a little better, get a little more acquainted with her, which is what we like to do. We got lots to talk about with her, but we'll get to that in a heartbeat of a second here. Dale, what do we got going on in the month of March alone? What do you need to talk about April, May, June, July, and August, September, October, November, December for this year? We're even booked for 2025 already. Hashtag blessed, thankful, grateful, humbled.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I'm so happy March is here. This is my favorite time of the year. Paracon season is just about to amp up. And I'll tell you, but hey, in just, let's see, we're already halfway through the week. So in just about 2 days from now, actually 3 days from now, we are going to be headed up to Ann Arbor, Michigan to be a part of one of the most amazing events to kick off the paranormal season. That's right. Photographs Parafest number 5 is happening just around the corner. That's this Friday night. It starts at 5 p.m., folks. If you already don't have your tickets, I would suggest jump on it, get down there. It's not only being able to attend an event, but you also get to help support the local animal shelters. So, yeah, you have to get down there. Got some amazing guests. As you can see on the screen, we have the amazing Dustin Perry, Heather Taddy. We have Brad Blair and Tim Ellis, organizers of the MI Paracon, which is happened every August up there in our favorite place, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. They have the one and only John E.L. Tenney going to be speaking. We have the lovely Mama herself, Deb DeRoos, is going to be there speaking. Owner of the Hinsdale House, Dan Klass, is going to be in the house. We have Dana Stricker. We have Chris and Kelly from Traveler's Moon Paranormal. It is going to be an amazing event. So 2 days of come on down and hang out. We're going to be there. We are going to be doing our live thing all weekend long. So come on down, say hi to us. We'd love to meet everybody here. Hear some really cool ghost stories. So once again, Pooches for photographsforpooches.com. Get your tickets today, or just show up at the door. They'll let you in. Just pay an admission fee, and just know that you're helping animal shelters in the United States, which is pretty impressive. I mean, I think today he said that they've raised over $120,000.
And just a side note, real quick, Dale, sorry, going to cut you off. Jenny Davis from Unturned Pages, the Get Haunted Paranormal podcast program, she's going to be there as well. What a sweetheart of a lady there. But she says if anyone comes and does it or a photo session with her, that's her $10 from each session will be donated to Tim and the charity. So I just want to throw it in there, sort of cut you off. That was important to get out there.
Absolutely. Like I said, it is an amazing event. I was I was pretty anxious to actually attend the event last year, and here we are. We are going to be a part of the event this year. We are going to be helping them raise some money, so we look forward to that. So that's going to kick it all off. Once again, that is this Friday, 5 p.m., and then all day Saturday. Come on down and hang out. with the best para family in the universe. It's going to be right there in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So come on down, do your thing, meet Tim, meet the whole gang. Like I said, it is, man, and this all goes keeping Murray's memory alive, which we all want to do. We want to tell Murray's story out there. So yeah, that's that's it in a nutshell. And I just want to say a quick note out there is that yesterday I got to do something that was truly amazing. I got to speak to the Plymouth State University Paranormal Club. They reached out to me, and I was able to talk to the students, people who are just getting into the paranormal, learning about the paranormal. Some of them have been doing it for a while, but it was great to be able to talk about the paranormal, answer any of their questions. So I was very grateful to Kendra and her class at the Plymouth State University, the paranormal club down there. It was very fun talking to those guys. I had a great time, and I love doing that kind of stuff. I love getting out there talking about our stories, how we became the paranormal voice, and how I got brought into the paranormal. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. So once again, thank you to Kendra and the Paranormal Club at the Plymouth State University Paranormal Club. It was lots of fun out there. So that's what I got to do. That I thought that was absolutely fun.
Yeah, how cool is that? I mean, and you represented us like $1,000,000. Like I'd expect nothing less. Thank you for doing that. I'm proud of you, brother, for getting out there, because to do that, any type of public speaking, for anyone to get out and do that, it's not easy. You don't just snap a finger and say, "Here we go, man." You got to get mentally set on and on. So now, I want to mention this. Well, I didn't mention when we first came in, and I apologize for that, but we'll mention it now. It's time to mention it now. We are live right now on Facebook. We are live right now on YouTube. We are live right now on the Get Haunted Paranormal podcast program as well. A lot of outlets right now streaming from live, a lot of support. That's how we've made it here from day one to day now. Of course, thank you to the TPV Nation. Those are the fans that allow Dale and I to do what we do, and that's this right here, right now. That's from day one to day now. Whether it's the TPV Nation, whether it's our para family, however it resonates with you, you know who you are. We want to say thank you so much. And last but not least, we are coming to you pre-recorded, and you can only hear us. This will be every Saturday night. Whoopsie daisy. Saturday nights, 1 a.m. You can hear us on KGRA Digital, and that is worldwide, folks. Mind is blown. The opportunities that we have. My mind is blown at things that have come before us, people that are helping us as we grow and continue on this journey that is the Paranormal Voice. Dale Quigley, Michael John.
Absolutely, man. No, we are truly blessed to be able to get out here each and every week, talk to amazing guests, meet amazing people. Like I said, we're always grateful to everybody who has supported us and shown us and helped us out along the way. It is one of the we've got the most amazing people out there that support this show, and just the people we've talked to over the last year and a half. Like I said, it's been amazing. But yes, it's
Lauren Hellickson's right there. Candace Isaacson. I can't see everybody's names, unfortunately. Again, there's the comments I'm trying to keep up with them, and that's a good thing. I like when we can't keep up. Thank you, everybody. Keep going, man. All right. So, without further ado, Dale, should we get rocking and rolling?
Absolutely. Lauren is chanting her name, so we better get her out here, or I think Lauren's gonna hunt us down.
Yeah, I ain't messing with that. You ever see her lift weights? That girl, no joke, power lifter, ladies and gentlemen. You don't mess with a paranormal power lifter. Hey, new nickname,
Absolutely
Lauren.
not.
New nickname. All right, so next guest. Talk about paranormal hats. I like using that because truly she wears a lot. She's a tour guide at the Bell Mansion in good old Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's near and dear to my heart because I had family in Fort Wayne, Indiana. When I was in single digit age, I got to hang out there. She's an investigator with Riverside Iowa Paranormal, which is the Indiana chapter, production assistant to one of Paraflix's top shows, The Ghost Finders. You got Daniel Class on there, another young lady by the name of Brittany Isley. I'm missing a couple of names, and I'm sorry. On top of all that, she is a wife and a mother of 3. TPV Nation, we give you and we welcome the one and only Lindsay Crouch.
There. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Oh,
and Lauren, thank you for the chance.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on with us. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, no, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us for this hour. We look forward to picking your brain, learning what
Richie?
you know about the paranormal, and also of a location that is definitely on my bucket list of places to visit. So we look forward to learning more about the Bell Mansion.
Well, I'm happy to tell you about it. There's quite a bit to tell. So you just tell me what you would like to know, and we'll go from there.
Well, we
Absolutely.
got.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead, Michael
I mean,
John. Sorry.
are we good? Sorry.
Yep.
So I got a list of things I want to ask you. Bell Mansion is on that list. But first and foremost, we're going to go a little bit backwards here. Let's start with what got Lindsay Crouch started. So now you had, what you had mentioned to me previously, you had experiences as a small child. Clairaudience, right? For example, hearing conversations.
Yep. So when I was little, as far back as I can remember, I used to I would see things. A lot of times, the main thing I would see was a hooded figure. It was almost like a monk robe, and
Yikes.
I would see this during the day. And I remember getting so excited about it. I never felt scared or anything like that, but it would be extremely frustrating because I would try to tell my parents, and they couldn't see it. So I was confused, like, why could I see this thing and no one else could? And then my mom would always like, oh, it's just your imagination, it's nothing, or there's always that excuse, just her being a protective parent and probably didn't really have any other way to explain it. And then my dad, he worked second shift for as long as I can remember. And I used to always like to get up and go out and visit him. He'd get home around 1 in the morning. And so a lot of times I would lay in my room and I would listen for the TV, or sometimes my mom would stay up and she would, I'd hear them conversing out in the living room. And I would hear this quite often. So and I'd wake up and I'd hear that. What I said was either the TV or them talking. And I would get up and I'd run out of my room and it was pitch black. And
Wow.
I'd kind of freeze for a minute and then I'd go back to my room and get in bed, and then the conversation would start back up. And it almost sounded like, after a while, to me, it sounded like there was like two voices in the room with me, and it was almost like they were just talking about me. And then,
Ooh.
it just, I don't know. I ended up being a little scared of that for a while, but nothing ever really came of it. And I still get that sometimes. Like, I'll still feel like I'm hearing conversations or muffled voices. I'll get back to that in a minute. But so as far as like seeing things, I quit seeing things when I hit puberty. I kind of shut it all off for a while. And then in high school, it was the typical, my friends and I were going into abandoned houses and old barns, and we were trespassing. I wouldn't recommend that. But when you're young, you don't think about that kind of thing. So yeah, then that appeal started coming back. And for me, I was always very intrigued by the history. I wanted to know the story of the building, of the people that built it, where they came from, what their lives were like. um, Richard, I was probably 4 or 5 when I first started experiencing things, at least that I can remember. Um, so yeah, it's just, for me, it was the love of the old architecture, the buildings, the stories. And I remember down my senior year, there was a place down in Muncie, Indiana, and I don't even know how my friends knew about this place, but we got in the car, drove 45 minutes south, and this place, we pulled off on a back road. There was no driveway, and we went through these thick woods. It was so overgrown, and in the middle of the woods was this house, and it was surrounded by old vehicles and old ambulances, like really cool. But everything was all overgrown. It would have been the perfect movie set, thinking about it now. But when we went in the house, of course, it was dilapidated, but everything was still in its place. Like, there was still old suits, and they were from like the 70s, the thicker material. And there was still food in the refrigerator, and just I mean, it's like the man just picked up and disappeared. And So me, I go to his desk. There's a desk with old bills, and I start like looking through the paperwork, because I wanted to find out about this person. And I remember his name was Carl Miller, and I don't know why it's one of those things I just never forgot. And the internet was still, not like it is now. So your research could only go so far. And me being a 17-year-old, I didn't really have the resources to look into this too much, but I typed in his name. I tried to find anything I could. I found the address, but that was it. So that kind of was really starting to give the uptick and the interest in the field. And then I think what really did it for me was it was the week of graduation. We were down at my friend Sean's house, and they lived next to their grandparents, which had a farm, a lot of old barns and everything on the property. And we were talking about, I think we might have watched Ghost Hunters back in the day. I think that was probably one of the only shows that was around at the time. And, we got he had a digital recorder. And I remember he pulled out a brand new tape because, back then it was those little tapes that you'd put in the recorders. And our Nikon Coolpix camera. I'm starting to date myself now. So we, got all of our gear, and we went out there, and there was a barn in particular that he had an uncle who tragically passed away at the age of 5, maybe. He got sucked into a feed grinder that was up on one of the top floors of the barn, and it was a pretty horrible and untimely death for his uncle. But the family said that the spirit of his uncle was always still there. There were reports of people getting their clothing tugged on, like a little kid wanting your attention, or if you had your hand down, you could feel somebody grab your hand. And while I always believed, because I had my own experiences on and off growing up, I am still skeptical, and I still am to this day, which is good to be. It's good to always question everything. So I told them, I was like, I'm holding the digital recorder because I don't trust any of you. I was like, you guys are going to mess with it. And, so I tried to hold it like open palm the entire time because I didn't want my fingers to brush over the speaker or anything. And I also like kept my arm close to me because I didn't trust anyone. And we didn't really, you could feel like energy changes. And again, just a bunch of high school kids fresh out of high school, we're just screwing off and laughing and, just having a good time, which you should have a good time anyway. But then we went back to his house, and we were listening to everything and going through the pictures. And there was a lot of different things that I picked up in that recording. Like one of them, you could hear the atmosphere, like when we were just walking outside. It's just kind of that white noise in the background. But then when we got into the barn, as time went on, you could kind of hear it almost sounded like a rotating machinery, like that a humming of machinery. And I guess that would kind of mimic a grinder or something, or, I don't know. That's kind of what we all came to the conclusion of. And the biggest thing was the name Brian was whispered very loud and clear into this recorder. And that was his uncle's name. And I had no knowledge that that was his name before we went in. So when I found that out, I about passed out because I was like thinking to myself, I was holding this recorder next to my body, and that whatever that was next to me, So
Awesome.
That changed everything for me. And it's funny, just a week ago, my friend Sean, I wish I would have sent you the picture. I posted it on my Instagram. He found the recorder, and he still has the recording. And he may or may not be listening tonight. I hope he is, or maybe he'll tune in later on. But I'll have to email you guys the picture of the recorder. Hopefully I can get together with him soon and maybe have another listen to that. But so that was a really cool experience. And then I shut it off again for years after that because the group of friends I was running around with, nobody was really into the paranormal. And then when I started dating my husband, I started dating him when I was 22. For the longest time, we didn't talk about anything paranormal, but the house he was living in at the time was definitely occupied by something or, some things. I feel like whatever was in his old house was a little darker. I always felt uneasy in there. I always felt like I was being watched. The muffled conversations would pick up. there were a lot of times, and we were also renovating his house because we were trying to get it ready to sell. So I know that kind of causes an uptick. But there were a lot of times, we would have his son every other weekends, and I would hear conversation thinking it was Ethan, my stepson, and I'd go into his room to check on him, and then it would like dawn on me. I'm like, oh, we don't even have him. And then I'm just like slowly shutting the door, like, okay. um, and then in my husband's bedroom, well, boyfriend at the time, his bedroom, I always felt like I was being watched. And there was one night in particular, I thought Ethan was whispering my name. I kept hearing Lindsay being whispered over and over. And I opened my eyes and I saw a little head, and it scared the hell out of me. And it just took my breath away because like the eyes looked dark, and it was not saying it was like a black-eyed child or anything, but I saw something and it didn't look nice. And I dove back into Kevin, and he sleeps like, he could sleep through a tornado, so he barely budged. But the rest of that night I was kind of doing my guard was up and had the blankets up, and I didn't turn my back on the wall again, I'll say that much. But so I finally opened up to him about it. And the night that I did, it was around Christmas time, and there was an ornament that I had bought Ethan that was right on the front of the tree. It was a little light up snow globe. And this ornament just starts spinning and spinning and spinning. And, the first thing we do is we check for drafts. And then, but it was obvious it was something else because nothing else was moving on that tree. And then the dog starts acting up, and the hair on the back of, his neck starts standing up. And I said, okay, the more we acknowledge this thing, like it's, so to this day, I don't know if it's still there or what it was, but he definitely acknowledged it. Once I finally brought it up, I was like, do you ever feel like something's here? And he looks at me and he's like, yeah. So, again, I kind of didn't really dabble in it a whole lot. And then finally, I just keep getting pulled back. I keep getting pulled back to it. And about, I don't know, a couple years ago, I just thought to myself, or I kind of put it out to the universe. I'm like, all right, if I'm meant to be in the paranormal field, then just take me, universe, like show me what's up. And ever since then, it's just been on the fast track. Like I've had so many cool opportunities. I've met so many cool people. It's been a great experience so far. There's been really, really wonderful people that I've come across.
So you mentioned when you got your gift, when your gift started happening, you're approximately 4 years old. When we were backstage, and this is what's interesting, and you also mentioned about your mother, this all intertwines with what you just shared with us. So the gift, as you called it, your mother, you said, suppressed it on you, pushed it away, said no, ignoring it, all that, which a lot of parents have done to kids who have gifts. But then your mother revealed later on to you that she did have gifts as well. But also, your 4-year-old child also might have the gift.
Yep. And the 1-year-old. So
And
yeah, Eli, they both started at 1 for them. They always seem to be waving at, smiling. They have something has their attention a lot. It's not every day, but just a couple days ago, Eric, my 1-year-old, and I were on the couch, and he looks up like he's looking up at somebody standing next to us, and he just smiles and starts, waving and kind of interacting with something. And Eli had done that since he was about a year and a half, and he started that mainly at my mom's house after my dad had passed away. And yeah, he kept saying grandpa and pointing up, and that's a warming feeling for us because we know that's just more validation that my dad's still around. We can kind of feel him, but just having your little ones point things out like that, it's pretty cool.
That is amazing for sure.
No, it's amazing just how gifts can be trickled down from generation to generation. And we were talking a bit about this, like today's generation, it's so much easier for them to get themselves more into the paranormal because I think it's more open now than it's ever been. Growing up, yeah, wasn't a topic that you were talking about because yeah, mostly parents would go, "Oh, it's just your imagination. Like, just go back to bed, or just ignore it and it'll go away." But today, I find that with today's generation and the people that are coming up through the paranormal now, they have it so much easier, which I'm glad about because I know how I felt growing up and how much better I would have felt if I would have just had somebody who would say, "Well, just explain to me what you're seeing or what you're hearing," and be able just to kind of encourage it as we do nowadays to our own kids because we knew what we went through. So I think today's generation definitely has it so much better, which I'm grateful for because there's so many talented people out there with gifts that, yeah, they just get to a point where they just shut it off because nobody seems to believe them.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about so how did you come across to being able to work at one of the most fascinating locations, the Mansion, which is in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was built in 1839, I believe.
1893.
1893. So tell us how that came about.
So I first went to the Bell Mansion for a masquerade ball a couple years ago now, and I mean, I immediately fell in love with the place. I had been there when it was a funeral home. Both of my grandparents had their funeral services there. I was pretty young when my grandfather died, so that I didn't really have too many memories of. But yeah, just being there for that first masquerade ball, it was just so there's something so enchanting about the place, and it just really draws you in. And I made an acquaintance with one of my now really good friends, Jeff Walker, who's a volunteer there, and we just chatted. And then I ended up following him on social media, and he also does photography. So I'm gonna kind of get a little sidetracked on this. This will all intertwine, I promise. But um, so I made friends with Rob Thompson from the Ghost Finders a couple years ago. He came to the Freemasons Hall in Fort Wayne to do an event, and we had become friends, and we just kept in touch over time. And I saw one time that Rob was seeking help for a crew member for a shoot they were doing in Indiana. And I reached out to Rob and I said, "Hey, let me know what you need help with. I can put the word out for you and try to find somebody, put you in contact with people because I know a ton of people." And he was like, "All right, that would be great." And then the more Rob and I started speaking about it, he goes, "Well, what about you? Do you want to do this?" And thanks. Um, but yeah, the bell is beautiful. It's just everybody should go there. So anyway, Rob was like, "Yeah, we how about you? I think you should give this a shot. You should come out with us." And then I agreed. I said, "All right, let's do it." And then he was like, "Well, what about photographers? Do you know of any photographers?" And I said, "Yeah, I do actually." And this guy is kind of in the paranormal field, so I think he'd be a good fit. So I reached out to Jeff, and Jeff is all for it. So next thing I know, I pulled Jeff on, and Jeff and I are going down to the Randolph County Infirmary, which is a very cool place. And there we met everyone from the cast and crew, and Brittany Isley, that was also her first time with them as well, and we all hit it off. I mean, everybody just has such great chemistry on that cast and crew. I mean, we had a great time. And talking about a group of people who can joke around and have fun, but also get down to business when it's needed and take it seriously. It's just a good mix. So anyway, that day, or I should say that weekend after we were filming, Rob offered all three of us a full-time spot on the crew and cast. So obviously we all took it. And then Brittany, she is one of the founders for Riverside Iowa Paranormal team. She invited Jeff and I to come to Indiana State Sanatorium, I think about a week or two later. And she's like, "Yeah, just come on out and, see how you like it and just come out with us." And so Jeff and I, we get in the car, we go down there and had a great time. And then Brittany and Michelle, they offered us a spot on the team. So I said, "Okay." And so we took a spot on their team. I love them. They're such a great group of friends and people and investigators. And the next morning, um, Jeff looks at me and he looks at his phone, and there was a big staff changeover at the Bell Mansion at the time. And he said, "How would you like to be a part of the Bell staff?" So, I mean, I'm telling you, when I said I put it out to the universe saying, if I'm meant to be in the paranormal field, open up some doors, like this happened. All three of these
Right.
things happened within 2 weeks of each other. So it was overwhelming. It was a lot to pick up on at one time, but it's been a blast. It's been a really good time. So that's how I got on the Bell staff and Ghost Finders and Riverside Iowa Paranormal.
That I mean that yeah, life happens that fast, really, when you put something out there. If it's truly meant to happen, it'll happen, and that's
Hmm.
it's quite amazing. Now, for those uh, can you give us a little bit more history about the Bell Mansion? And I know it had four owners. It was a funeral home. It was a lot of things, but just if you can just give people who may have never heard of the Bell Mansion, which I believe they would have been living under a rock at this point.
Yeah, I think it's finally kind of getting boosted up there in popularity, which it should be. I mean, the house is just an entity in itself that, is beautiful. So yeah, the Bell Mansion was built in 1893. The first owners were Robert and Clara Bell. They were originally from the Muncie area. Robert he was born in 1844, and he volunteered in the 8th Indiana Regiment of Volunteers for the Civil War. After that, he ended up studying law at the University of Michigan. When he got done with school, went back down to Muncie, started practicing law, and he was a senator for 2 terms.
Mm.
Clara, she was one of the original founders of the Fort Wayne Art Museum. And yeah, they moved up here. And while their house was being constructed, they lived just a few blocks over. So I think it took about a year or more to build the home. Um, but they lived there until, well, Robert passed in 1901, January 21st of 1901, and she sold the house in 1904, and then she passed away in 1906, and the Noble family bought it after that, and they were a family who owned a large lumber company in multiple states. And hi, Kyle.
Kyle,
And they
hi
lived there for
Kyle.
about 22 years before it became a funeral home in the 20s. So once it became a funeral home, the same company had owned it until 2018, and it sat empty for a couple of years. And then the Stern family, yes, they are. Hi, Jimmy. Yeah, so then the Stern family bought it, and when they had bought the place, they had the intentions of making it a bed and breakfast. And then some things fell through, like business deals, and then something with a sprinkler system, if I can remember correctly. They have these beautiful wood ceilings, and they ended up saying that if it was a bed and breakfast or something like that, they'd have to end up tearing all that beauty out, and in order to preserve it, they had to go a different route. So yeah, then it just became the Bell Mansion and an event center, paranormal venue, and it's just been history ever since.
Lindsay, with all, I mean, everything you've done, I mean, what a journey you've had. I love hearing someone's backstories, their journey, where they started, where they're at now. But we're going to kind of back up a little bit. And I want to know, and we ask all our guests this, whether it's at the Bell Mansion. I mean, you did share that story earlier with that. You saw that face. You didn't want to face the wall after that, all that. And that was a great story. You're a great storyteller, by the way. I could listen to you tell a story
Thank you.
for the next 3 hours. You're very good at it. Now, the creepiest, freakiest, weirdest experience you've had, whether it's the Bell Mansion or somewhere else, could you share that with us and the listeners and the viewers, please?
Oh, the weirdest, creepiest. Man, that's kind of a tough one to narrow down.
That's okay.
I'm gonna say I'll just start with the Bell since we're on the subject of the Bell Mansion.
Perfect.
There was the weekend we were filming there for an episode for the Ghost Finders, and which that episode is not out yet. So just keep an eye out, and I think should be coming out sometime soon within the next few months. But um, the crew and I were down in the basement just hanging out and chit-chatting about things, obviously paranormal, and then other things not unrelated, but the activity in the basement started really just ramping up. And so then, we're kind of getting excited, and uh of course we do the whole, like, if you want to communicate, give us 2 knocks or something. And there was just these two huge bangs, and we all scream like a bunch of little girls. Here you have these, all of us experienced paranormal investigators, but I mean, it was so loud, it scared, it just, gave us that little jumps factor. And so we got really excited, ran up and got equipment and came back down. Of course, like everything kind of stops when you have everything ready, you don't get anything. But there was still some stuff going on. So we were down in kind of like the middle of the basement, and something started happening more toward the garage area. And for people that have been there, they'll know what I'm talking about as far as like directions go. So of course everybody naturally starts going that way. And I happen to look over toward like the nerve center area, which was to my left. And I saw my first apparition at the bell. That was the first time I'd seen something there. And it was heading toward the nerve center, and that door was wide open. And of course I'm excited. And I'm like, did you guys see that? And everyone's gone. So then I kind of get like that little creeped out feeling, because then I'm realizing I'm by myself. So it's like you want to be by yourself, but at the same time, it just kind of creeps you out anyway. So I start scurrying down in the direction everyone else is. And then that door to the nerve center where the apparition was heading slammed shut. I mean, and it slammed. And it was that door's not finicky. It's not a door that swings very easily. There's no gusts down there. There's nothing that would cause it. So that was really exciting for me. And I'm going to say that apparition I told you about at my husband's old house, that little face like that really scared the hell out of me. And then I'm trying to think. There's been Randolph County, the first time I was there, there was something dark there, and all of us women that were there were affected. Whatever it was at that time, because I've been there a couple times since, and I hadn't had any negative effects from it. Unless I've just learned to protect myself more, which I have been practicing. But to feel the negative effects from that place during that weekend was difficult for me, because again, I'm a believer, I'm a skeptical believer, and I didn't expect to be like emotionally attacked the way I was. I mean, it was very I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Frightening, I guess, in a way, because you just feel like you're out of control of you don't have any control of your emotions, and all of a sudden that negative draw starts happening. And at first I thought it was just me, and then I go outside. Brittany looks at me and she goes, "There's something wrong with you. You need to go outside." So I go out, and then I see a couple other girls out there bawling their eyes out, and then like it was so bizarre. I mean, it was the emotional attack was something I had never experienced before, so that bothered me, because I never thought that was something that could happen at the time. So to me, it's just you learn as you go, and you get humbled. It's one thing if I've been, I used to think being scratched was kind of a bogus thing too. Back in the day, I'd be like, oh, they're scratching themselves. You'd watch shows and you're like, oh, please. At Vienna State Sanatorium, that was the first time I'd been scratched, and it hurt. There was a bunch of us up on the third floor in one of the main original buildings, and it felt like I described it as a mechanical pencil, because I could just think of something like with a really sharp point. That's how I mentally was comprehending that. And I just felt something like rake down my back. And I was standing in the middle of a room. There was nobody around me. And then one of the guys that was with Riverside, Iowa, he was like, well, did anybody look at her back? And next thing I know, they're all like running over and they're like ripping my shirt up. And, and I just met these people. I'm like, calm down. I just met you guys. Like, and then they were watching, and we have pictures of that too, but they were watching this line appear down my back. And when I said, oh, it was like a mechanical pencil. And then Jake, one of the guys, he goes, well, it was a hospital. He goes, do you ever think of like hypodermic needle or anything? And I mean, it makes sense.
Nice.
But so yeah, another time I was humbled, because I was just like, oh, that can't happen, and I'm constantly being proven wrong. And I like that, because I'm not somebody to go and taunt anything. I don't want to be proven wrong in a bad way, but it's good to be humbled sometimes. It's, a learning experience.
Yes, no, I mean some of the experiences, and I guess really in the paranormal field, that's how we learn is through experiences because it's not something you could see on TV or read in a book. It's like you truly do in the paranormal, you have to experience something to in order to understand on
Mm-hmm.
the effects and what it does to people. I mean, I know with me, it was the Hinsdale house was something that really gave me a profound experience, but it was scary and it took me a very long time to get over it. But at the same time, I look back at it now and say, wow, that was showing me something that I really needed to see at that time or experience in order to be a better investigator. I mean, if you've never had an experience or anything, then it's like you don't really learn on anything through the paranormal because it's unless you experience it yourself,
Hey,
that's
Javier.
it's it's the way you that I just find that the paranormal works. It's hard to teach. You can't. It's not something you can teach people. It's all done through experiences.
It definitely is. I always say at the end of the day, I think you can have all the equipment in the world, but at the end of the day, the best conduit is your own body and your own experience.
Yeah,
So
equipment's
speaking,
overrated.
yeah, I was just gonna say, out of equipment, what would you say is your best piece of equipment going into a paranormal investigation?
For me, I gotta say it's a digital recorder. I know it's simple and old school and kind of boring to some, but I don't know. I've just had some of the coolest experiences with the digital recorder. Um, there's so at the Bell Mansion, there's experiments I like to do, and it's not just at the Bell. I like to do it at other places too. We have a poker room, and there's a deck of cards up on the table, so we have trigger objects up there, and that room is so active. I mean, that's a room you will never leave disappointed. Um, so when I lead tours or any kind of paranormal investigations up there, I'll start playing with a deck of cards, and I'll pull up a card and I'll ask out loud, I'll show everybody so everyone can see. And you can do this with a spirit box too, or any kind of equipment, but I'll ask spirit to identify the color, number, or suit of the card. And, if the digital recorder, we'll just do little burst sessions and we'll play that back. Or if we have a spirit box or something going, then you can hear whatever responses are coming out of the equipment. Um, there was this one time in particular, this guy in Lorenzo, he might be watching. Cool guy, but it was his first time doing an investigation, his brand new equipment and everything. And I couldn't find my recorder. And I was like, does anyone have one? He's like, I have one here. And so we ran the experiment. And as I was describing to everyone like what we were going to do, and we were playing it back because he had it playing the whole or recording the whole time, you hear "Let's begin" whispered
Ooh.
clearly in his recorder. And I'm like, what kind of recorder is that? Because I was having a hard time finding a good recorder that was getting. He was like, oh, I don't know, I just got it off Amazon. And it was just, but it was a great capture. I mean, it was just clear as day, and it was really exciting for him. And I know that kind of got him started on things, and because I see him on Facebook doing things now. Um, but yeah, just there's times that we're running these experiments, and um, if you could go back in time, sorry, I'm reading these.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to not pack myself away to fit in a box. I try, because at the time paranormal was so, um, I don't know, I guess just out there, or like you were a weirdo or whatever. So I think then I tried to kind of pack it away to be normal, what was normal. And I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have continued to try to develop my skills and experience. So that's what I would tell myself, not to make yourself small for anyone. Um,
With,
so yeah, hopefully that answered that question. But yeah, going back, um, Sorry, get sidetracked, squirrel a little bit. I don't even remember what I was saying now.
You were talking about a recorder.
Yeah, the recorder. So yeah, but yeah, there's times that we're running these experiments and it's just spot on. You know, you're getting super intelligent responses out of it and it's incredible. Um, then there's other times like I like to use flashcards. So you just get little kids flashcards. And because that's something simple that spirit could probably, because I know it probably takes a lot of energy for them to be able to communicate or make themselves known to us.
Yes.
So yeah, just something like a simple child's flashcard with pictures of cats and trees or dogs, whatever it may be. Then sometimes you could hear those words spit out. You hold it up for everyone to see. You ask spirit to identify, and then you'll get some results from that. So yeah, just a simple digital recorder and deck of cards or flashcards. And to me, I get the biggest thrill out of that. It's simple, but it works.
I want to ask if you could, let's say this, let's compare a digital recorder, because sometimes older is better, old school is better. Compare a digital recorder to the old cassette tape recorders. Would you use one of those as opposed to a digital?
I would. I mean, I'd probably try to use both and compare and
Interesting
see,
experiment,
see
right?
what results you could get from both.
It would be an interesting experiment for sure, I think.
Yeah.
It's just off top. I was thinking I want to mention that, but now we're at that point where I want to ask you, so you could share with all of our viewers, our listeners, where Lindsay's going to be, where you and your crew, Riverside Iowa Paranormal, is going to be, where the Ghost Finders are going to be, what you're doing, where you're going, and who you're with. Stage is yours. Please share wherever you're going to be and whatever you're doing.
Okay, there's quite a bit. So let's see. And I even have like little notes written down so I didn't forget anybody or anything.
You got it. You got it, though.
Right.
It's all right.
I'll start with the Bell Mansion. So May 11th, we are having Ghostorama. I have been working with Michelle Hatfield and Mike Schwanke and Dan Holroyd to get this put together. They've been, honestly, them three have been doing most of the work right now because I've had other stuff going on. But so yeah, it's May 11th. It starts at 11 a.m., goes to 7 p.m. It's like a paranormal meet and greet. So we are welcoming all teams from around the area, from anywhere, if they want to make the trip, to come. It's free for a table, but if you're selling merchandise, we ask $40 for a vendor fee. But yeah, just a good paranormal meetup. There's gonna be food trucks, there's going to be music, it's for public and paranormal. There can be other vendors selling whatever merchandise they may have. Um, it's gonna be a good time. Like it's just a good group of people, and I feel like we're starting to get a lot more people coming forward now that they're getting word about this. So yeah, we're still seeking vendors for the event, and we're still seeking paranormal teams to come and hang out. That evening, there will be a paranormal investigation, and that is $40 for the investigation. That goes from 9 until 1. Yep, I had to double check. We'll have some guest speakers, one of them being Jason Snyder, Dan Holroyd, Mike, the ones I just mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just if you have any interest in coming, please email Michelle at thebellmansion@gmail.com, and she will be more than happy to get you all set up. Or you can reach out to me through social media if you have any questions, and I will be more than happy to answer them for you as well. The other thing we have coming up in May is May 25th. My buddies, Mike and Chris from the Wraith Chasers, will be back at the Bell Mansion for an investigation. They came last year and we all had a heck of a time. It was a great time. Great group of guys, great group of people. So yeah, if you're have any plans to come to that, I'd get your tickets soon because I know Mike and Chris's events sell out pretty quickly. So May 25th, the Wraith Chasers are coming. May 11th, Ghostorama. And you can always find information on the website, thebellmansion.com. And I will move over to Riverside now. So we have a lot of events coming up from Riverside this year. The first one is going to be March 16th at the Edinburgh Manor with Dustin Perry. So Dustin will be there with Michelle and Brittany. I will not be at that event, but that will be a great time. That is in Monticello, Iowa. The one after that is March 30th. That'll be at the Asher Walton House in Atlanta, Indiana. I will be at that one. And I think we might be getting joined by Mike Couch, the owner of Rhodes Hotel. I heard
Whoa,
a little birdie
good
told me
guy.
that.
Good
And
guy.
I was just talking to him today and I forgot to ask him. Let's see. We also have the Old Mercy Hospital, March 23rd in Oskaloosa, Iowa. And then April 27th, a night at Fort Duffield in Kentucky. So if I know I rattled these off pretty quickly, but if anyone has any interest, you can go and visit the Riverside Iowa Paranormal on all social media outlets. And also you can find tickets at thrillerevents.com. But again, if you have any questions, reach out to Riverside Iowa Paranormal on the Facebook page, or you can reach out to me or Brittany Isley, Michelle, or any other member of the team. Everybody is awesome. It's just a great group of people and a good time. So when we host these public events, it's fun to pull in people that have experience, and then it's also fun to bring people in that have never had experiences before. We're always more than happy to lend out equipment, to teach things, whatever, however we can be an assistance. And then on a personal note, I will be at Waverly next weekend with a group of friends. Yeah, so I met this amazing group of friends in Savannah, Georgia last year for this paranormal trip that I had taken with Mysterious Adventures. And I don't know, we've just become great friends. So some of these people, I mean, we talk weekly, and we're all just having a little reunion thing at Waverly. And I think my friend Vince is going to be there, the urban investigator.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will also be joining in on his event as a guest. I mean, I'm just bought a ticket, just a ticket holder. I'm nobody special, but he's going to Ashmore April 19th. So I will also be there for that. He's a great guy, and I would definitely check out all of his content. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him yet, but
I am for sure.
he puts out some great stuff. He just put out an awesome video today.
Yeah, any type of urban exploring. I love that when people go in old mansions and the old houses, it's like a time capsule. Like you were describing earlier, somewhere you were in. It's like they went out for a walk and never came back. It's crazy. I love that stuff. I can watch that all day. So yeah, I'm just getting into his content, but yeah, definitely know who he is.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Oh, and I love you too, Aunt Vicky. My Aunt Vicky chimes in on there. So.
Hi, Aunt Vicky.
So I mean, we are almost coming up to the full hour. Like, Lindsay, this has been an amazing time listening to your stories, watching and listening to how much you've grown in the paranormal. But before we let you go, we just have to get a little bit more information from you on thoughts of other aspects of the paranormal. What is your stance on the cryptid side?
On the cryptid side, so this is something that I kind of made it a goal of mine to learn more about this year. So I was trying to think of different ways, like how to kind of branch out. I definitely believe in the cryptid side of things. I have a lot to learn as far as that goes. I was watching the series on Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. And I would love to get out there. I know they have like a lot of different things going on with extraterrestrial cryptids, like all kinds of things. Mothman, I was going to start learning a little bit more about that whole topic. I don't know. There's a lot to it, a lot to learn for me. So that's an area I don't have a ton of knowledge about, but it's something I made it a goal to learn more about this year.
My guilty pleasure when it comes to cryptid is, of course, Dogman. I stumbled upon a show called Dogman Encounters Radio. Vic Cundiff is the host. He brings on people that have had encounters. He's got thousands of eyewitness account interviews now. If you want to cut your teeth with that, a lot of stuff in Michigan, Ohio area. I mean, they're everywhere, these things. Land between the lakes, on and on. Of course, Bigfoot, another one, Sasquatch, a million names for that creature alone. But, oh my God, first it was Bigfoot, and then listening to some podcasts, good old YouTube algorithm. It slipped over into Dogman Encounters Radio one night, and I've been hooked ever since. Speaking of YouTube, real quick here, you have a small YouTube show you're going to be a part of called Eerie Encounters. Has that started yet?
Yeah, no, it hasn't started yet. So we are still trying to figure out scheduling with everything because we are all so busy. Steve Dills, Chris Vaughn, Brittany Isley, and I, we're planning on starting to collaborate and work together and do some things with their show. They are awesome guys, love them to pieces. So yeah, we're thinking maybe getting together in June or July is when our schedules will finally line up to hopefully start putting some content out there.
Awesome. Okay.
That's awesome.
Something to look forward to. Very exciting.
Absolutely. And if you want to read a really good book on Mothman, Greg Lawson just released a book. It's called Messages from Mothman. I just finished reading it. Absolutely amazing book. Greg Lawson, the
Greg's
paranormal
awesome. I'll have to
detective.
check it out.
Yeah, no, he is absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was a very, because Mothman is one of my favorite cryptids.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
I do like I do like learning about Bigfoot. Dogman not so much. He scares the hell out of me. But you know,
See, and that's
but
all new to me. Now I'm gonna have to Google all this when we get off of here.
but no, but I've always had this fascination with the Mothman, and to go to the Mothman Festival has always been something on my bucket list. I just reached out to them this year, so hopefully I'll make my way up to the Mothman Festival. That's in September. So, but Lindsay, I just want to say thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come onto the TPV Nation and to talk to us and all of our listeners. We thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you up the road, seeing you down the road, wherever we may cross paths at. So I just want to say thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I definitely look forward to seeing you guys down the road. I'll probably see you at some of the Paracons this year.
Without doubt, you will. Lindsay Crouch, one of the good guys in the paranormal, folks. What a great interview! Thank you so much. Look for her on the Ghost Finders Paraflix Top Show, of course. Look for her Riverside Iowa Paranormal. Big things happening there. Eerie Encounters. A small, as she says, a small YouTube show going to be happening soon. Cannot wait. Also, tour guide at the Bell Mansion. Who better to tour you through the Bell Mansion than this lovely young lady right here? TPV Nation from day one to day now. The creeps, the freaks, the weirdos. Thank you to everyone so much, because without you, we don't get to do what we're doing, and that's this right here, right now. We will see you all on the other side. But in the meantime and in between time, happy hauntings.
Happy hauntings.
Bye.